Hello and welcome to BlueTube, where we talk all things blue, and today I'm kind of making a one-off video. Of course, I've been making these transfer talks over the past month, but the transfer window's closed now. And usually what that marks is we're just past the halfway point of the season. And the reason that this week is so important, so important, is because now this is our squad for the rest of the season. For the next 3 or 4 months, we're not going to change because the window's closed now. And we're just going to go forward, see how we can do in the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the Premier League with this current team. And in this video, what I'm going to do is kind of give my thoughts on Chelsea's season as a whole. Look back and see, what it was like in the beginning, how we've progressed, where we are as a team right now, where we are as a club right now, and where I think we can go, in the coming months or so, and what I think we can achieve with the current team that we have. So let's begin by looking back a little bit and thinking about, how our season has been. And of course, it hasn't been the best season. It's been certainly a very unpredictable season for us. That's really how I can describe it. I started this channel actually at the beginning of the season, or before the season started, way back in preseason, in late July, I think, to be precise. And I started off by making match reviews and starting off by doing these daily transfer talk videos talking about these rumors. So if you guys want any really deep analysis into what I was thinking on a daily or even weekly basis throughout the whole season, you guys can go watch that. But of course, I know you guys have a life. You guys don't have the time to watch literally hours of content. So here is what it boils down to. Chelsea's season was bad, but it all began before their season actually. If you guys watched my preseason match reviews, I'm sure you guys remember watching preseason as well. We were terrible. We were absolutely terrible. I remember that very first game of preseason, Chelsea versus New York Red Bulls. Chelsea were huge favorites to win. We were playing in America, of course, but the New York Red Bulls actually had an important game coming up, so they basically fielded their youth team against us. Of course, we didn't play our best team as well, because it's preseason. But still, Chelsea were favorites to beat New York, and New York were playing their youth team against us, and we lost 4-2. And everyone was like, this is preseason, it doesn't really matter what happens in preseason, because, we kept going, and then we kept losing games, we kept drawing, losing games, and against PSG, I think, we drew, but we won on penalties, and we're like, whoa, this is cool. And then I think it was Barcelona who we drew and then lost against, or did we just straight out lose? I can't even remember, guys. But things weren't good in preseason. The one thing that we could say was decent was Kennedy, because we signed him in the summer for £5.5 million. And against Barcelona especially, I still remember that game. I still remember his tackle against Suarez and just the pace and just youth and vigor that he brought onto the pitch. And of course, he's been pretty good throughout the season, and the youth is something that I'll talk about in more depth in this video. But preseason wasn't good, and it kind of carried on to the beginning of the season. Of course, Swansea opening day, 2-2. You could say we were kind of lucky to get a draw, because Willian's goal was kind of a very loopy, weird goal, if you guys can remember Willian's goal. Should I say Willian's first goal, because he scored 2 in the... No, I think he scored 2, but the weird goal didn't count in his goal, because there was a deflection. But anyway, but that game kind of was, a foresight into things to come. It was kind of alluding to the fact that our defense was very shaky. Going forward, we didn't look like the side we were last season. We didn't have that complete creativity, because of course preseason wasn't very good for us. And then of course the big thing for me was Ivanovic, because I can't remember the name of that player of that left wing in Swansea, but he was a new signing for them as well, and he completely demolished Ivanovic in that game. He literally ran circles around Ivanovic, and Ivanovic is a strange player this season, because in the beginning he was atrocious. He was literally so bad, and it was so unexplainable, because he was, in my opinion, the best right back in the Premier League last season. But he came into this season playing like that, and I think, yeah, it was Montero, the left wing in Swansea, but he came into the season playing terribly, and of course that kind of continued. He was bad, and the Chelsea fans kind of went against him. And now, to be fair, he's playing decent, and I want him in our team, in our starting 11, because I think he's a great player right now. But of course, some of that Chelsea fans, meanness has kind of continued until now, so there is still a group of Chelsea fans who don't want him on the pitch, and I can kind of understand that because Baba Rahman's not really getting a chance. But for me personally, Ivanovic should be in the team right now. Something else that happened against Swansea was Eva Carneiro. And I'm sure all of you remember this. Eva Carneiro, Eden Hazard got hit, he went down, Eva Carneiro runs onto the pitch, and when she comes back, Mourinho goes ballistic at her. Absolutely ballistic. And this was a big moment for Chelsea, I think. Of course, the huge, the whole Eva Carneiro versus Mourinho saga went on for like a month, which eventually, ended in Eva Carneiro getting sacked, and she was even threatening legal action against the club, and it was crazy. I made about 2 videos about Eva Carneiro in the past, so I'm sure you guys can watch that where I go into a lot more depth. But that was kind of alluding to a not so great season for Chelsea as well, and it kind of showed that it was suggesting that something wasn't quite right at the club. Something wasn't quite right, and this is also reflected in our transfer policy as well. And you could all just sense that something wasn't right at Chelsea in the beginning of the season. The results weren't good. The performances weren't good. Eva Carneiro just randomly getting screamed at by Mourinho. Maybe something happened behind the scenes. Who knows? The transfer policy. Let me expand on that. Mourinho said he repeatedly said throughout that transfer window, in every press conference that he went into, saying that because Chelsea weren't making a lot of signings, he was saying that if Chelsea were to make signings, we would have made them already, but we haven't, so we're not going to make signings. And he was repeatedly saying that in every press conference. And of course, we're linked with Pedro, we're linked with John Stones, we're linked with John Stones, we're linked with Pogba, we were linked with a huge variety of players, but we weren't signing anyone. And I remember Mourinho saying before the transfer window even started that it's very important for us to get our transfer business done out of the way. And that was part of our success of last season. If you guys remember, we bought Fabregas, we bought Costa, we bought Felipe Luis, who of course didn't really feature as much, but we got them in early. We got them in right in the beginning of July, and the team kind of voted together. The preseason was good, and we had an awesome season. But that didn't happen this season, and Mourinho, you could sense that he wanted to sign all these players. You could sense that he wanted to build this team, but none of the transfers were happening. And the rumor was that Abramovich was blocking these transfers, and there was a bit of friction building up between Mourinho and Abramovich. So the beginning of the season, in short, wasn't very good for us as a club. It was not good at all. And the poor performances continued and continued. The Eva Carneiro saga continued until she was fired. And it just wasn't very good at all. And there was a brief moment, I remember this, when we played Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Champions League. I think that was the first game of the Champions League, I think. And we beat them 4-0. That was on a Wednesday night, or a Tuesday night. I think it was a Wednesday night. And then, a Tuesday night, anyway. And then that following weekend, on Saturday, Chelsea versus Arsenal. We beat them 2-0, and we were like, whoa, is this gonna be the revival of our season? Is this gonna be the moment the season turns around and we can play properly again? But no, and then we go and lose against, I can't even remember, a team that we should have beaten basically. But then that kind of epitomized where Chelsea were at the time. We weren't good, we weren't beating the teams that we should be beating, we weren't performing well, we weren't getting results. That continued and continued and continued, and we all know what that led to. This December, of course, Jose Mourinho got sacked by Chelsea. Shocking news, absolutely shocking in my opinion, because the thing is, about 2 weeks prior to him getting sacked, or about 3 weeks prior to him getting sacked, Chelsea were playing pretty well. They weren't nearly as bad as they were in the beginning of the season. It was coming back from that international break, and then we played against Tottenham, I think, who we drew against, but we played very well against. And then we went on kind of a run, an unbeaten run for about 4 games, I think. And then of course the Leicester game, we lost against Leicester 2-0, and in the aftermath of that, Mourinho got sacked. Big moment for us in the season, absolutely enormous, because at that moment, the club was absolutely dying on so many levels. We were being criticized by virtually everyone except Chelsea fans. Literally everyone who knew anything about football was criticizing Chelsea. Our performances, weren't nearly as good as last season. Our position in the league table, I think we were like 16th place or something in the league table, just a few points off relegation, maybe even 1 point off relegation, something crazy like that. What else is there? This was the big thing. A lot of rumors flying around that Mourinho has lost the dressing room, that players are, snakes, are plotting against him. They're not performing because they want him gone. There's a huge dispute between them, and everything was going wrong, or it seemed to be going wrong at Chelsea. And the fact that he got fired just was the tip of the iceberg. And Chelsea fans were quite divided about the issue. Of course, me personally was livid at hearing the news. But a lot of Chelsea fans, or a few Chelsea fans, as I personally know from watching comments on my videos, know that what am I saying? They were actually kind of happy that Mourinho went. And they gave their reasons. They said that the players will be playing better now. They don't have that manager. They can play with more open tactics and all these things. And the youth can shine through. And since Hiddink has come through, you could argue that it has happened. That maybe Mourinho going was the right decision for Chelsea. I still think that it wasn't, because I can make an entire video about this, but I still don't think it was. But you can't argue that since Hiddink has come through, Chelsea has entered an era, an era of stability and just calmness, and we're playing. We look like we're enjoying it. The players are enjoying it. The fans are enjoying it. It's great. And actually, there's one thing I forgot to talk about in the midst of all of this, and that's the Chelsea youth that I said I was going to talk about. So let me rewind back a little bit to the beginning of the season and so on. Because Chelsea weren't performing that well, it gave an opportunity for the youth to shine through. And there were really two players that'll look at this season and think, this was a great season for me. Or maybe not a great season, maybe that's not the right word to describe it. But this was a decent season. I got an opportunity. And that'll be Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Kennedy. Of course, there were other players that got opportunities like, not Babaraman, of course Babaraman, but Bertrand Traore, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone, but I can't remember, so I'm going to move on. In fact, Bertrand Traore did get a few opportunities. In fact, I keep saying in fact, he got his first goal this week against MK Dons. I was absolutely ecstatic at that. And that's great. It's great to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Kennedy, and Bertrand Traore all getting goals this season. Very, very, very happy as a Chelsea fan. And we're seeing them getting more integrated, and really a change in philosophy at the club and from Roman Abramovich. He really wants to see young players given a chance. And under Mourinho, they did kind of get a little chance in the beginning. He was playing, he had the confidence to play Ruben Loftus-Cheek against Maccabi Tel Aviv, and of course he got man of the match in that game, I think. He played Kennedy against Crystal Palace, against a bunch of teams, I can't remember all of them, but he did. He gave Bertrand Traore some substitute appearances, and that was great. But of course, as the season went on, as the results weren't getting any better, he needed to show that he was serious, so that kind of stopped happening. He focused more on the senior players because he really wanted to get our season up and running. But of course that didn't happen. But now, let's talk about this new era under Gus Hiddink. We have gone, I think, 9 games unbeaten now. Maybe even 10 games unbeaten, something crazy like that. And that is a huge contrast to what we've seen earlier this season. And as a Chelsea fan, of course, I hate knowing that Mourinho was fired. But at the same time, as a Chelsea fan, I'm very happy for my club. I'm very, very happy. And every game that I watch, I can watch with a sense of calmness, with a sense of knowing that I'm going to enjoy this. Actually, no, that's not the right word, because of course I've enjoyed every game, even under Mourinho, even under those terrible performances. I still enjoyed watching every game. But in this new period with Gus Hiddink, we're actually playing better. As I said, the players look like they're happy on the pitch, and that's translating into good performances, into more creativity, more openness, more goals, more wins, and everything seems to be very, very good. And I remember before the transfer window, this winter transfer window opened, everyone was saying Chelsea needed to make transfers. We needed to make big transfers this window, because if we don't, our season's going to be absolutely terrible. We're going to get relegated, and no one's ever going to hear our name again, and us as a club are going to die. Of course, this window we actually didn't make a lot of signings. In fact, we made one signing. We signed Alexandre Pato, who was a striker. Of course, if I had made a transfer talk this week, there would be a few things to talk about. And one of them would be that I think Falcao went on loan somewhere. I can't remember, guys. But guys, you know what? Let me just shut up. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm talking nonsense. But anyway, Falcao has been injured for a while. He's not the player that we thought he was gonna be when we signed him in the summer. So I think it was a great move on Chelsea to get someone like Pato, who's not gonna cost us £50 million, but we signed him on loan for now. And if he plays well next season, we have a choice. There's a clause in his contract for us to sign him for I think £12 million or something. I think that's very, very good business from Chelsea. But also we sold Ramires this window, and maybe, as I said in the video, I think in the last week's video, it opens up an opportunity for Ruben Loftus-Cheek and more youth to shine through. And even though I love Ramires as a player, he's been at the club for a long, long time. On the whole, I think I'm kind of happy at this transfer. It's extra money for us, more experience for youth, stuff like that. And he wasn't really getting an opportunity as well because John Mikel has been playing out of his skin since Gus Hiddink has arrived. Right now I have to say, I'm quite happy. We're playing well, we're winning games, we're progressing through cups, of course. The MK Dons clash in the FA Cup, we won that, we're going to the next stage. And right now as a club, I think we're in a very, very, very good position to turn this season around, to win silverware, to, at the end of the season look back and say, even though we didn't start that well, things ended up pretty well. We're pretty happy with what we've been able to achieve. But there is something quite important that we have to discuss. And that is the possibility of the Champions League next season. Because this is very, very, very important for us. For me personally, I would rather end the season in the top 4 rather than winning the FA Cup, even though that means silverware. And some people may agree with me, some people may say, you're absolutely crazy, how can you turn down silverware for 4th place? But the truth is, this summer is going to be, for me, in my opinion, one of the most exciting and one of the most important summers in Chelsea's history. Because firstly, we're probably going to change managers, because Gus Hiddink signed on the precedent that he will leave at the end of the season. So we're probably going to go for someone, not Guardiola, because he is going to City, which I hate, because I wanted Guardiola. But maybe someone like Diego Simeone or whoever's available. We're going to sign a new manager, and hopefully for the long term. Even though when Mourinho signed, we were saying he's for the long term. He did last a few seasons, to be fair, but hopefully it is for the long term. I think there's going to be huge changes made to the squad, and it's going to be incredibly interesting to see what players like Diego Costa and Eden Hazard do, because they have been linked with leaving since as long as anyone can remember. And you can't really blame them maybe, because Hazard, he hasn't been doing well at all this season. He hasn't been, he's been injured this season, of course, but also on top of that, he maybe hasn't been given a lot of opportunities this season because he's not starting every game like he was last season. But to be fair, he hasn't been playing as well as he is, so does he deserve the spot? There's a huge dilemma with that. And Diego Costa, the thing with Costa is he's a great player. If you guys have watched him in the last month, in every game he has performed incredibly well. And I'm so proud of what he's done as a player since then, since the last month, because he's changed his attitude quite a lot. And in his past attitude, where he was really fighter Costa, in that mood to kill someone every time he went on the pitch, I didn't really like him as that kind of player. Even though he did bring a lot of spirit and fight into the team, it was crossing the line a little bit. And he received a lot of stick from the media, and he still does. And you could see why he's a bit unsettled at the club, because he's been attacked from every single direction by the media, by other clubs' fans, and stuff like that. And there have been a lot of rumors of him saying that he wants to return to Atletico Madrid. And of course, Atletico just sold Jackson Martinez this window to China. And this China have been buying everyone this window. But anyway, they sold Jackson Martinez, so maybe they're looking to get Diego Costa back next summer. Who knows? This is going to be absolutely crucial for us. And how are we going to develop as a squad? I really hope we don't make the same mistake that we made this season. And that mistake was that we didn't make any transfers. We were too content with our squad. And in the end, we ended up making this crazy deal for Pedro that, to me, I'm not gonna lie, I was happy for it at the time, but it kind of came after nowhere, and we bought him not because we wanted him, but because we didn't want Manchester United to have him. And that's a similar story with Juan Cuadrado, a similar story with Mohamed Salah, and we all know how those players ended up. That never ends well. And I really hope our transfers are a lot more structured and a lot more, done quickly earlier on in the transfer window in the summer. But I could talk more about that this summer. Let's talk about the football for now. As I said, top 4 is crucial, but where are we now in the table? We are 13th place right now, which is an improvement from 16th or 17th or wherever we were, a month ago. So we are climbing up the table. We are getting up there. We're on 29 points right now. 21 points is the relegation zone, so we are 8 points clear. But at the same time, right now Arsenal, who are 4th place, is on 45 points. 28 points, 45 points. It's a 17-point deficit, and we need to make up those points. And a lot of people are saying it's impossible for us to do it. A lot of pundits are saying it's mathematically impossible. It's not mathematically impossible, but historically speaking, it's impossible for us to do it. And even a lot of Chelsea fans, I think, have been losing hope in top 4 as well, because a 17-point deficit with 14 games to go, that is a huge amount of points to make up. But in football, anything is possible. In fact, this season has proved that literally anything is possible. Leicester is top, clear of 3 points, clear of Man City by 3 points, top of the table. Tottenham is 3rd place. This season has shown anything is possible, and I really hope, in the next 4 months to come, I know that Chelsea can do it. I believe that Chelsea can do it. Do I believe that Chelsea will do it? I don't know, actually. I can't really say. To be honest, I think realistically speaking, practically speaking, I don't think we're gonna make top 4. However, football isn't realistic. It's not practical. The thing with football, it's unpredictable, especially the Premier League. That's why it's the best league in the world. Anything is possible, and I still haven't given up hope on the possibility of us reaching top 4. And I really hope that we do it. And if we do continue playing like we are now, and if we keep improving like we are now, why not? But also, what am I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Yes, the Premier League is important, but there are 2 other cups to fight for. Of course, we're no longer in the Capital One Cup because we lost against Stoke City in penalties, which, but that game, when Hazard missed that penalty, that just completely, epitomized the whole season. But anyway, we're not in the Capital One Cup anymore, but we still have 2 cups to fight for. And of course, the FA Cup, we just beat MK Dons' window, and we're going to the next round. Next round at home against Manchester City. I am really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it, because I think we can beat them. I think if we play then like we're playing right now, we can beat them no problem at all. And you could say, oh, you couldn't even beat Watford. How can you beat Man City? But it's a different. The thing is, when teams play against smaller teams and bigger teams, they're almost a different side, you can say. And I think Chelsea can beat City right now. I'm feeling so confident. And in the same way, I feel confident that Chelsea can beat PSG in the Champions League. And you guys may be like, whoa, calm down a little bit. But that clash is in 2 weeks in Paris, that first round. And I'm really looking forward to it, because I honestly think that Chelsea can win it. No, wait, is it actually? Wait, is it in 2 weeks? 1, 2, yeah, it's in 2 weeks. I thought it was next week, but it's in 2 weeks. I think we can honestly beat them. Of course, PSG this season have been insane. But of course, you could say Ligue 1 is not in the same caliber as the Premier League. You could say that, but they have been playing out of their skin. They are on some incredible form. Huge contrast to Chelsea's season. But in the last month, Chelsea have shown that we can fight. We can beat big teams. Of course, we're against Manchester United this Sunday, and I think we can beat them as well. I feel invincible. Maybe we're gonna lose, and our entire season is gonna spiral down. Who knows? But I'm feeling confident in our team, and just in general, if you guys haven't noticed, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty well, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the coming 4 months. And I genuinely think that Chelsea can make this a season to remember. So just to end this video, I want to give some of my revised predictions for the rest of the season. If you guys remember in the beginning of the season, if you guys have been with me from the start, I made a predictions video predicting who's going to win the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Capital One Cup, the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Ligue 1. I gave a ton of predictions. And most of my predictions will stay the same. And what I want to revise right now, what I want to talk about right now is 3 of those competitions. And that is the 3 that we are currently in. The Premier League, the Champions League, and the FA Cup. And I want to give my predictions right now. The FA Cup. To be honest, I can't remember who I predicted to win this. I'm going to be absolutely honest. But my revised predictions for now are Chelsea to win the FA Cup. And you guys may be thinking I'm a bit too optimistic, I'm a bit too confident. You could say that I'm being too swayed by recent events and I'm failing to see the bigger picture. But if you guys have been with me since the start, you guys will know I always look at the bigger picture. I'm not easily swayed by 1 or 2 or 3, decent games. I always keep my eye on the bigger picture, and I honestly think that Chelsea's future is very, very, very bright, at least for the next 4 months. And I think part of that brightness is the reflection of that silver cup of the FA Cup, and I honestly think we can win it. And I honestly think that we will win it, which are 2 different statements. And I think, as I said, we can beat City, and if we beat City, there's nothing stopping us. We can beat every other team in England. If we can beat City, there isn't any other team right now that I'd say is better than City. Of course, you could say Leicester, but but I think Chelsea are going to win the FA Cup. Next competition, Champions League. I said that Barcelona are going to win the Champions League in my predictions video in the beginning of the season. And I said, but the more interesting thing of the Champions League is the top 4. Because as I said before as well, in the Champions League, the thing is, the best team doesn't always win. In the Champions League, you have a top 4, which are usually the best 4 teams in the competition. But then, within those 4 teams, any team could win it. So really, there's no big point. There's no, as I said, there isn't a big point in giving a prediction for the winner, but it's almost more interesting to look at the top 4. And my prediction for the top 4 was Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Chelsea. And of course, there's a notable exception of Real Madrid, and that was because I could sense in my heart that Chelsea and Real Madrid were going to meet in the Champions League this season in an earlier knockout round. We're not with them in the round of 16, so maybe in the quarterfinals we're going to be with them. I have that feeling, and I still do. And this is an interesting fact for you guys. Chelsea and Real Madrid have not played a competitive game against each other since like the year 2000, which is absolutely crazy for me. It's really absolutely crazy. Within those 2 clubs, a lot has happened in that time actually. Chelsea, of course, Mourinho is gone, Hiddink is in for Real Madrid, Benitez is gone, Zinedine Zidane is in. A lot has happened, but I still do think the 2 clubs will meet, and I still do think that Chelsea will be able to beat Real Madrid, and that is a huge statement. But I honestly believe it. I'm not lying when I say that. And by the way, I just want to change this back because I really like this wallpaper. But anyway, yeah, I still think Chelsea can beat them, and I still think the top 4, or the semi-finals in the Champions League, will be between Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Chelsea. And I still think the winner will be Barcelona, and that is a big statement because no club in the history of the Champions League has won it back-to-back. And of course, Barcelona won it last season. They won the treble last season, and they've continued that incredible run of form. In fact, they won like 5 trophies last season, or something, because of like the World Cup and then like the Super Cup and blah blah blah. So they're playing pretty well, as in the FIFA World Cup, the Club World Cup, not the actual World Cup. That would be a little bit weird. I still think Barcelona are going to win the Champions League, which means that in the Premier League it's even more imperative that Chelsea make it to the top 4. As you guys know, the rule is if Chelsea win the Champions League but don't make top 4, we still qualify automatically for the Champions League next season. And that's precisely what happened after we won the Champions League in 2012. But I don't think that Chelsea are going to win the Champions League this season, which is kind of sad to say. But as I said, I think that they will make semi-finals. And in football, anything can happen. And the Champions League especially, any of those 4 teams could win it. And maybe Chelsea will surprise us, who knows. Now let's get on to the Premier League since I mentioned it. I think the top 4 prediction that I gave earlier this season, in the beginning of the season, was Chelsea first, Man City second, United third, and Arsenal fourth. A lot has changed in the last 6 months, guys. A lot has changed. And I'm going to make some huge revisions to that top 4. I think the top 4 in the Premier League at the end of the season will be as follows. Number 1, Leicester City. Yes, I think Leicester City are good enough to win it, and I think that they will win it. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Man City. Man City, they're still a very good team. They're second in the Premier League right now. You know, I think that they're gonna win it. What? No. I think Leicester's gonna win it. I think City are gonna come second. Number 3, I'm gonna put my money on Arsenal to overtake Spurs once again to take that 3rd spot. Actually, they're both on 45 points right now, Tottenham and Arsenal. So it's very interesting to see what happens. They're 3rd and 4th respectively. I think Arsenal will end up being 3rd place. But 4th place, this is the really interesting one, because this Premier League has been so strange. You know, you see clubs like Watford and Palace surprising everyone. You see clubs like, you know, Swansea taking a huge downward spiral. You see clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, Everton not performing to the level that they should be performing at. Of course, you know, I'm not saying that they're bad clubs. For Everton are actually pretty decent this season, but they're not where they should be in the table. And you could say that this is kind of a strange prediction, but I'm not gonna predict top 4. I'm not gonna predict number 4 this season. What I will say is that I don't think Tottenham are going to come 4th place. And if there's any Tottenham fans watching this, firstly, why are you on a Chelsea fans channel? Actually, secondly, you're still welcome to stay. But thirdly, I'm sorry, I don't think you're gonna make top 4 this season, even though you are 3rd place right now. I don't think Tottenham is gonna come 4th place. My predictions for that number 4 spot is between Liverpool, Everton, and Chelsea. As I said, I don't think Chelsea will make it, but I think Chelsea can make it, and those are 2 different statements. But I still think that Chelsea can make it. I hope that they do make it. But, you know, I honestly can't give a prediction for 4th place right now, because I just don't know. But as I said, what I do know, or what I do think I know, is that Tottenham are not going to be 4th place. It'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen at the end of the season. And I'd love to know your predictions for this season. Tell me right now. Actually, I'd love to know your Champions League predictions as well as your Premier League predictions. If you want to give your FA Cup predictions, if you want to give any predictions for La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, or anything, you know, feel free to do so. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think the top 4 in the Premier League is going to be, and what you think the top 4 with the semifinals in the Champions League is going to be. So, you know, I encourage you right now, you go to the comment section down below, tell me what you think, and we can have a conversation about why you think that, why I think this, and, you know, yeah. And guys, that kind of really brings a conclusion to the video. Congratulations if you stayed to the end, because I do understand this has been a long video, but, you know, we are kind of at a very important stage of the season, right at the middle, or, you know, just past the middle, as I said. The transfer window's over. We have everything to play for the next, you know, 4 months. Let's hope that Chelsea can make the best out of those 4 months. And I really hope, and I truly believe that the next, you know, at the end of the season, we can look back and say Chelsea have had a brilliant season, regardless, you know, despite of our shaky start. But guys, we'll only know at the end of the season. I'll be making a video. Guys, I have kind of a surprise coming up for next week. So you guys gonna have to look forward to that. Kind of think about it. I'm not gonna give it away, but there will be a video coming out to explain it sometime next week. Of course, Chelsea are playing Manchester United very soon. Really looking forward to that. Really hope we win. But guys, until then, as always, stay blue.